one interesting idea, which is a little bit crazy. Hi, miltonchang of Bonsai beautiful day, and I'm going to work on this very old Sierra Juniper that I got around 2 years ago at the Mammoth auction. And one gentleman and I bid this tree up quite high, but I really wanted it because I thought this is very unique. So I really like it because it's very, very old. And so let's talk a little bit about the age. We say it's 700 to 1,000, 750 to 1,000 years old. You may think that I'm exaggerating. I'll do my best to estimate it. Basically, if you count the rings, like California juniper, the growth is really a fraction of a millimeter a year because it's probably, given the weirdness of this shape, this tree is probably growing the high Sierras, which the growth is very slow. And this tree is very similar to the California juniper, except the foliage is grayer, more or less whitish, instead of pure green. And also found the wood much softer than California juniper. It's just not as rich of a tree as California juniper. Today I'm going to work on it. Based on the thickness of this part, the tree is really, I would say 750 to 1,000 years, so I will claim that. But you can see little chunks of flaking off quite easily. Unlike California juniper, it's a lot more sturdy material. And then this part was the only part remaining that's alive of this tree. And out of this part, only thing that's alive is like 6 years. A tree, no matter how big it is, the living part is only about 5 to 6 years. That's the ambient part that's growing, the outside of the tree that's growing. Inside is just dead wood, and that's exactly what you see. And also, there's the question, the tree may be 1,000 years old. I only bought it for 2 years, and someone before me may have it for 15, 20 years. So is this a 30-year-old bonsai, or it's a 1,000-year-old bonsai, or it's a 6-year-old bonsai? So it's for you to decide. I think the bottom line is that don't worry too much about the age of a tree, but rather it's how you like it, how its presentation in terms of its aesthetics. So with that in mind, then, I will start to work on this tree. And the question is, what do I do with this tree? One thing I actually don't quite like it, in a sense I think need improvement, is that I think we should emphasize a tree that's almost like this tall, right next to this big mountain, so to speak. Or like this one, you just keep letting it grow. You kind of forgotten that it's kind of now taller than this. So there's a tendency of letting your apex grow until it's really too tall for scale. Now, as I study this tree, I have one interesting idea, which is a little bit crazy. My name is Chang, C-H-A-N-G. The side of the Chinese word Chang is this shape, which is really like this shape. And then it's got the long part, the Chang part, the Chang part. And so one possibility is I can make this the apex, cut out, make the rest of a jin to rhyme with this, and I can make this the apex. So I have a tree that's like this tall with all these nice curves right next to this tree. I'm just giving you the consideration when you work on a venerable tree. You want to give it some thoughtfulness. And one other thought is I can cut this part or make this part into jin and make this part the apex. And that's about the same height of this. And I think that will be also very interesting. That's less dramatic, but possibility. And then the third possibility is that I found the Sierra Juniper extremely supple. You can see I can bend it tremendously and it will not break. So one possibility is to bend this, using the technique that developed by Kimura-san in Japan to wrap this with rephra and pour down with a force, and that's a third method. Before I go into that, I'll show you. Here's a seedling. Because this bonsai is sitting right next to a landscaping tree called the shiruyu, Japanese maple. You can see it's a dissectum, although it grows like a regular tree, tall. So that's the only dissectum that's growing tall, and that's a seedling. That's how much it grew since it emerged. It's about like April. And so Japanese maple grows pretty quickly. And this tree does not seem to have very big leaves. So I may very well take it out later on and let it grow into a tall tree and make it into a bonsai, because I think bonsai dissectum that's a little unusual, that can be nice. I talk about three possibilities. One is to make this the apex, make all of this jin, but that's kind of like hovering out a little bit too much. And then the other one is to grow all the way up here, which I don't like to have that tree taller than a mountain, so to speak. So one option is to make this part into jin, and then make this the side apex. So the tree will come up like this, and come up like this, and go to the side to create a little bit more three-dimensionality. And so let me, for example, now show you at this angle. Now you make this the apex, the front. This part does not have as interesting a front, but I may figure out some days to make a little hole or something. And then this tree will be coming up like this, and then coming out like this, and it'll be about the same height as this, rather than taller than this to overshadow this. Notice this is the white part, and that's what the previous owner did by putting on a lot of lime sulfur on top of it to make that look white. And if I want to, I can brush off the bark to show the color underneath the bark. In this case, it's kind of not as bright a red as Prostrata juniper or the California juniper, but that's Sierra Juniper. So you can see this is the light part is a little bit reddish. So to contrast strongly with the white, which could be an interesting feature. But with that in mind, then I'll quit talking, but rather to start to make this part into a jin and make this part into the apex. Now you can see it's how interesting three-dimensionality, and this part is interesting enough that I'll make this the front instead of this one. I don't know which one you like. This part, the bark is definitely better, more interesting, but I think this is essentially the three-dimensionality is a nice feature. With that in mind, then, let me get to work. So first of all, what I will clip off is all the leaves, because you want the jin to be relatively thick, not wimpy little branches, because likely they will fall off with time. So old jin will not have little branches much, mostly thicker branches. Almost cut out the wrong part. So it's fairly brutal. You have to make tough decisions. In life, you have to make decisive decisions, or else you'll never go anyplace. You will always be stuck in the same situation, in a sense, in the case of the bonsai, stuck in the same design. So you can see this is a very interesting curve to make that the apex and going out this way. Just going to rip this. Rip all this off to make it into a jin deadwood. You can see it peels through quite readily because it's live, so it's moist. You can see it comes off in strips. That's how the junipers grow. I use this claw, and it's quite easy, quite useful for peeling bark. Again, you can buy it for a few bucks in a hardware store. Well, I can take my time later on to peel all of this off into white box to rhyme with all of this. You can see this is already dead, so it cannot peel off anymore. Whereas the live part, the bark came off very quickly, so you're going to have contrasting red and brown and white. And if you want to, you can put lime sulfur on it to make it all white or something like that. You see, here's all alive and that became white, whereas the dead one stays brown because you can't peel it off. So like this part, I don't think you need that much gin. So what you do is that you kind of cut a little bit to get it started, and then you break it off to make it look like nature broke off due to a storm or something. You see, that's how you create a gin that looks very natural, by using a plier to pull it off to look like a breaking off, like this would be broken off right here, for example. This is the first time I work on a Sierra Juniper. They look like fairly soft wood, so it's probably a good idea to cut it first before I try to break it, and then peel off it as much as I can. But so that's as much as I can do, and then I can later on take time to use some electrical hand tool to make it into more of a finished carving kind of approach. So now, this more or less complement this. You can't do anything much about it. Oh, this is alive, so I can probably clean this off into a gin. You can look at that's very interesting. And then this part comes over, front and the back, the three-dimensionality. So I'm not going to clean off some of the little branches because someday they can become design features. But I need to now create more of a apex, etc. Otherwise, they grow very unwieldy. So I'm starting to create pads. It doesn't look like much of a pad, but it's the beginning of a pad. I'm going to let it grow a while before I decide what to do with it. Yeah, they look like a very soft wood, actually, even though it looks rugged. So that's the apex. All of this would be dead. So like this guy's really flopping around, so I need to wire this so when it stiffens up, it would be like this at the right angle. So wiring is essential from time to time, but using sparingly and make sure to get rid of them, get rid of the wire before they griddle into the tree. That's my main point. Every tool is to be used when appropriate, but not overuse it. Not like wiring every darn branch. It's just really incredibly time-consuming. Almost give bonsai a bad name. So like this tree, this branch, the main design is this branch. So this is actually useless. So I'll cut it off. You just have to do it, Like this is alive, so it's very easy to peel to make into a white gin. So this is the main branch, and I want this to come out. And this, it's a little bit off angle, but nature, well, this is actually to be gin too, because there's a nice branch below, and hopefully these will become the side branch. So this branch is actually pretty weird. It came from that side, and somehow it grew this way because they seek light that way. Now, in many of the Japanese bonsai books, they will actually wrap this branch and pull it someplace else, like pull it all the way over there to make it into part of the design, which could be very attractive, and it is a technique. But I don't like to do that because I don't think it's natural for a tree to have a branch that's coming that way and become growing out this way. So I actually cut it off and make it into a gin, sort of say, well, I grew that way, I'm sorry, I really shouldn't, and to conform with nature. That's my preference. I like my trees to look natural. See, this branch as it came from here and go all the way down, which should be really going this way, but such is life, I'll make it into a gin. Hi, so this is a tree I did today. That's a Sierra Juniper, very old juniper. I suspect between 750 to 1,000 years old. And what I did is I really kind of demolished the top to make it into a gin in order to create more of a curvature. You see, I don't ever wire my trees, and not very often, But I don't create these arbitrary curves that's defying nature. And in this case, all of this is perfectly natural. It just have a natural tendency to grow. It's a balance between the way the tree grows and what the sunlight predicts it to do. I think I like this front instead of the other side because now you can see the live part, which is this part, and it's a nice curve going around and coming up. In fact, someday, if I really want to, I can almost get rid of all of the deadwood and make that into a bunjin style tree in a shallow, small little pot, because that's the only live part. As I said, this is the only live part. This could be 1,000 years old, but that's only live part, and only 6 years of the outside of this tree is live. I like it. As I finish this tree, I really have no preconceived notion what the tree will look like. But now that it's done, I look at it, and you know what I saw? I saw Tango. You know how people do this? You see how this is the man, or this is the woman? They're doing the tango. I think how exciting. We shall name this tree Tango. And I'll give you an update every 6 months to show how it will fill out eventually to fulfill my vision of what the tree wants to be. So thank you very much. So I hope you like this video. Click like if you think I did a good job describing or working on the tree. Please tell a friend, get people interested in bonsai. And please subscribe to our channel and send us email address because we'll soon announcement for trees for sale. With that in mind, I thank you very much for watching, and I'd love to see you next week. Please tune in. Thank you.